Hey, everybody, welcome back. We are here for another episode of the VOD Squad. I am Clyde, and today I am joined by Matthew Ross.
Hey, everybody.
And Michael Aston.
Howdy, y'all.
I know what you're thinking. Wait, I thought the podcast was over. But no, I think you're wrong. We've continued to do this podcast every single week.
It's true.
We just haven't been recording it, so you guys missed out on some pretty amazing discussions.
We decided to take some time to internalize our process and figure out what works best for us. And
or
what we
do
figured
something
out,
different and figure out that we're bad at doing something different.
Exactly. That what was best was not what we were doing per se.
But I did want to bring up one interesting fact. It is exactly pretty much almost to the day 1 year since the last episode. Because we did our last episode at the end of August last year because we took September off.
Yeah.
And this is now August 30th that we're recording this.
Yeah, it's true.
So the way it worked out, you know what else is awesome?
Pineapple.
Just like in one of our last episodes and many episodes before, MoviePass is back.
Wait, no, don't go.
No. MoviePass. I figured this is the perfect way to kick things back off with our old friend MoviePass. And you know why? You know why I wanted to talk about it?
I'm scared to ask. Why do you want to talk about
back up?
I signed back up last year when they opened up, when they said they were going to be doing the beta. Unfortunately, I couldn't get into the beta because they only did it in certain markets and I wasn't in that market. I did sign up when it opened back up to the public a couple weeks ago, but the most important thing, and I forgot it, my prop is over there, my official MoviePass debit card arrived today.
Oh.
And if that is not a sign, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so this podcast probably could be subtitled the MoviePass saga.
The MoviePass
like
Minute.
Yeah.
Which actually, we need to talk about what we're going to do with the podcast going forward because it's not we're not going to do the same thing we did before.
Oh.
But since I am I'm in MoviePass again, should we do a weekly check-in? We can call it the MoviePass Minute, and I can let you guys know what I went and watched.
Wow.
Absolutely.
We're really sinking to this level.
Well, you guys should get the MoviePass too, and then you can do the same thing.
Oh wow!
Except that isn't that requiring you to go watch movies in a theater?
See, that's the only way that I ever go see movies in the theater.
Yeah. Well,
so that's why I saw a lot of movies in 2018 because MoviePass. And then once they closed MoviePass, I stopped going to theaters.
Well, see, I love the Alamo Draft House, but I just haven't missed movies because there haven't been enough good movies lately to justify going to a theater and spending all that money and dealing with other human beings in your presence.
And I think that is where MoviePass comes in. And it's not like the old one where you just pay $10 and you get to just go to all the movies you can. Because obviously, as everybody knew, that model is not sustainable, right?
Right.
The new model uses a point system. So depending on how they've got different tiers. So like $10 a month gets you, let's say, 35 points. I signed up for the $20, which is like 72, 75 points. I'd have to double check. And then there's one above that gets you more. So what that is when you go into the app, you choose the movie. different showtimes and different movies and different showtimes will have different point values. So you can use that to shape, you know, do I definitely need to see it at this time at the higher point value, or can I wait till a matinee and see it at a lower? So you've got one, maybe three, depending on which tier you're in, the movies that you could see.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is, the points roll over. So if you don't go to any movies, you're not, it used to be, if you don't go to any movies, then you just kind of threw away $10-20, right?
Right.
Now they will roll over 2 months worth of points, which will work out pretty nicely if, let's say, in September there's nothing you want to see, but then all of a sudden a bunch of stuff comes out in October.
Right.
Now you can just, you know, go out. And so I signed up. Oh, good.
Is there a point max on that accumulation?
It's 2 months worth.
Okay.
So it, depending on your tier. So I can have, I assume at any month, I can only have 3 months worth of points maximum.
Okay.
So I'm in, I signed up for the $20 a month, which is like a movie and a half.
Right.
Possibly. And that'll theoretically get me up to 3 movies in a month, unless I go at a specific, you know, high point time. But yeah, I'm actually kind of excited because it finally gave me the motivation to, especially going into the winter. So going into the winter, I was more likely to go to a movie if I was out. And it's like, I can swing through, catch the Babadook or whatever on my way home. But
also this year was kind of just not necessarily the best, but a decent number of movies that I wanted to go see in the theaters week after week after week. Remember at this beginning of this year we had Dungeons and Dragons, which actually was good. I enjoyed the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I know it wasn't everybody's favorite, but it's what it is, and it was fun. And there was other ones that came out shortly after that everybody was really into.
We got Operation Fortune, which I would have gone to see in the theater. I actually did try to see it in the theater, but by the time I found out about it, it had just left my theater that day. And I missed it.
A couple weeks later was the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That was huge. Absolutely enjoyed that one. Went to the theater to see that. Indiana Jones, went to see that in the theaters. There was a decent number of movies that were like, okay, I'll go to the theaters to see this year. Unlike actually 2 years past, not that many were like, but there were a decent number, like nothing that was like must see for me.
There's one movie that's absolutely must see for me, and I was waiting for my MoviePass card to come so I could go see it.
Oh, yeah?
That was The Meg 2.
Oh yeah.
And my card came today, and I think I just missed it.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Unlike Matt, I feel like all of these movies that have come out recently, I'm fine seeing them in my house when they eventually get there. I just am not feeling that motivation to go out to the theaters.
You're not alone. There's a lot of people who are in that boat where they're like, you know what? I'm kind of over big movies unless it's a big film kind of thing, which kind of sucks because that means movies are starting to be less big. Yeah.
It's funny because that has been me for most of my life.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, it's once again, everybody's, I'm just going to do this thing. I'm going to be different. It's like, stop copying me.
And also, Clyde, now that you're going to the movies,
I'd like to want to go to the movies because I enjoy, like I said, I mean, I enjoy going out to a movie. I enjoy going and eating some good food while I'm watching a movie and stuff. And but it just it feels underwhelming. Everything that seems to be coming out that's supposed to be good. Now, to be fair, I want to see Indiana Jones. I just didn't want to see it in a theater because I was too skeptical of whether or not I would enjoy it.
It's because he's afraid of Indiana Jones fanboys.
It's true. They are
Because they can sniff out their own.
Because they walk around with whips. Jeez. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. Well,
because every time he says snakes, they throw snakes at the screen. Yeah. It's like Rocky Horror Picture in there, right?
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm excited to hear that MoviePass is come back. It doesn't sound like the kind of thing that is for me. I don't want to have those kinds of limitations. Like, I just want to go.
Well, you only go to Alamo, right?
And I only go to Alamo.
See, MoviePass wouldn't even make sense for you because Alamo has their own subscription, and that they started that back up like a year ago. So, no, for you, just go there. For me, my favorite movie chain is the Marcus chain, which I doubt any of you have ever heard of. I think they're based out of Wisconsin, like Milwaukee. They're just in this little area, but I like because it's a small chain. They actually typically they don't have any. I don't have any of the complaints that I have about AMC or the other big chains. They actually have like care about the condition of their facility and the food and whatnot. So their popcorn is usually really good. Which that'll make or break.
Bad popcorn is a bummer. Okay, popcorn is okay popcorn, but good popcorn is.
I mean, awesome. I have a commercial popcorn maker machine here in my house. Right. Why would I go pay somebody $20 freaking bucks for garbage cold popcorn that's been sitting there for hours? I can make it for pennies.
Right.
Literally. Yeah. Anytime I want.
But see, and that's why I go to Alamo, because I want to get a pepperoni pizza or fish and chips or chips and dip and like eat legit good food while I'm watching it.
And as I was getting at, that's one of the things I like about Marcus is Marcus does I want to say they were one of the like kind of pioneers in theater dining, not necessarily pioneer for eating in the theater or delivering, which Alamo really pushed that and kind of forced everybody else to adopt. But they've got their brand of pizzas, Zaffiro's, and they've got, you can get burgers and stuff. You could always get that in the theater, or in the building, and it's always been good. And I've never really been impressed by the food at Alamo. But but as I've talked about before, the Alamo that was near me is a steaming garbage pile. That place is literally the worst Alamo I've ever been to. I have now been to 3 different Alamos in 3 different states. And this one, the one in Omaha, was way nicer than the one that I was at, the one in the Twin Cities. It's literally new, but that place, it's run so badly that I would not, it's a terrible experience, but I would not hang that on Alamo, the chain. It's just store. Highly mismanaged. That location. So
no, not the first place to do it. Obviously, back in the late 90s, early aughts, my hometown theater put some booths in, and you can go in there and get a booth and get a pizza and get things delivered. And
Oh
so
yeah,
it's
I mean there've been
great.
lots of places that have had like I know there was Cinema Grill for a long time in the cities, which it was kind of like that one. I'm trying to think of what the counter is like, sitting at a lunch counter, but stadium style, but you're
Mhm.
sitting at a lunch counter, and then or kind of like what's the medieval times. If anybody's
No.
been to medieval times, it was a lot like
Yeah.
that, but a movie theater.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
But
funny.
yeah,
I've I've seen and been to a bunch of different ones over the years. Like you said, early aughts when the first ones really started popping up all over the place. And um, from my experience, Draft House does it the best. There's another place here in town that is actually really solid as well. So, I mean, just find a place that you like, and
mm-hmm.
I stick with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, the movie's got to be compelling to justify because you're paying a significant price for that.
Oh, indeed.
It's just I'm not seeing a lot of great stuff coming out. The thing is that as we obviously are here about like streaming stuff predominantly, like there is so much good content available on streamed services that is better than what comes out in the theaters, that it just like it's hard to justify going to a theater a lot of the time.
Yep. And I mean, yeah, most of the stuff that came out this year, there's few exceptions. Obviously, I wanted to see Operation Fortune in the theater just because it would have been great in the theater. Renfield, I wanted to see in the theater,
And you
but
did, right?
I didn't get to.
Oh,
Um, but so I watched it when it was on Peacock or whatever, and it was fine. Yeah, I still enjoyed it. It was a great movie. I highly recommend Renfield to everybody. Um, the movie that's out today that I absolutely desperately want to watch, Slaughterhouse.
Slaughterhouse.
Yes.
you haven't seen Slaughterhouse?
Oh, well, okay.
No.
So pause this right now. Just hit pause. Do a search for Slaughterhouse, as it sounds, trailer, and then come back and we'll resume. But yes, synopsis: young woman, adopts a sloth, and it goes on a killing spree. It's
Okay.
exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly.
And so I want to see that. I sent it to my sister. We have a inside joke about sloths. I find it funnier than she does because I keep giving her sloth stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I sent it to her, and she said, "We have to see that." Or she said, "Wait, it's in theaters?" I said, "Yes."
Yes.
She said, "We have to see that."
Okay. Well,
And
I can accept that. That looks like the kind of show that I would expect you to really enjoy.
but the whole reason I need to see it in the theater is so that I can sit in the theater with my sister and experience, kind of like I had to see Violent Night in the theater because I could take my daughter and
I mean,
experience it with her.
but see, Violent Night was an amazing show. Like that was so good.
Yeah. My point is there are just certain movies that it makes sense to go through the extra hassle to go sit in a dark room with other people to watch it. Otherwise, I don't want any of these people anywhere near me. Just leave me alone.
And after decrying how awful movies have been recently, I must say I really wanted to see the new Miles Morales movie in
Spider-Man.
theaters. Like that was one that I thought would definitely justify it. It just timing wise didn't work with what we have going on. But yeah, that's the only thing I think that's come out all year that I've been thinking I should have seen in theaters.
So the point I wanted to make with Slaughterhouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the first movies that I absolutely have to see in the theater.
Right.
It's not playing anywhere within 200 miles of me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I am so angry. I am so angry.
Like the kind of movie that gets broad release, right?
Well, it is. It's in a lot of theaters. It just not the theaters near me. Because there's like 5 theaters just across the lake from me.
Does your sister live near you?
Yeah, she's across the lake in Duluth.
Because you live in the middle of nowhere now. So.
But there's 5 theaters over there.
Yeah.
And none of them are carrying it. The chain that I was talking about earlier, Marcus, they are showing it in a few of theirs. The one by me isn't one of them that chose to pick it up. It is playing at the one that I used to go to. Right. That one is playing it, but it was only playing there one night, one showing, and that was tonight at 7 p.m. And I couldn't watch that movie and then make the 190-mile drive back here in time to do this. So, I chose you guys over Slaughterhouse.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Oh,
also,
so
my sister wasn't going to go all the way to the cities with me just to watch it, but yeah. Well, I mean, without movies, you were talking about that we primarily talk about streaming.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say VOD, VOD, that's video on demand, and I would call a movie in the theater a video on demand because you're watching it when you go in there and you demand that they play it on the screen, right?
You're stretching quite a lot.
I demand you take my money and let me watch that movie.
At the time
that you specify. Other stuff. Do you guys watch a lot of old TV shows?
Not a lot, but depends what you're talking about.
I started recently watching Psych with my daughter.
Yes.
My 16-year-old daughter. So
had you watched Psych before?
Has she?
No, you.
No, I have seen it, yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if this was your first trip.
No, my wife and I watched it when it came out.
Yeah, that show was absolute genius.
So so now we're watching it with my daughter. So that's what I would say if you count that as old.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I was obsessed with I guess you could say I was obsessed with a TV show, but I was obsessed with the truck from the Fall Guy. So if you are you all familiar with the Fall Guy?
No.
I don't know how you couldn't be.
Okay, well, I mean, it's number one, it's Glenn. It's a Glenn A. Larson show. The dude responsible for pretty much everything in the 70s and 80s, including Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers, and I think he also did Knight Rider. He did everything.
This was
several people referred to him as Glenn A. Larceny because he would just outright steal scripts from other TV shows and then just change names and make them episodes in his TV shows. James Garner successfully sued him over that. Um, no, the Fall Guy. It was a show I remember my childhood. So, what's his name? The $6 Million Man. If you remember him, he is he's a stunt man. But the problem is, stunt gigs it's not a 9 to 5 job. They're hit or miss. So in his free time, when his spare time to pay his bills, he is I guess you call him a bounty hunter. He works for a bail bondsman, and he goes and finds people that skip bail, right?
Nice.
Yep.
I remember this show from my childhood, partly because of the theme song, mostly because of the truck. But I never got to watch it very often. In the later 80s, when it went into syndication, I'd catch an episode here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day I saw it was the first 2 seasons are on Amazon.
Oh.
So I went, sweet. I finally get to watch it from the beginning. I sat down. That first episode is a movie. It's almost 2 hours long because it sets up everything. And man, I'm about 4 episodes in to the first season. That show is so bad. It is so
not as good as you
bad.
remember?
It is so bad.
Sorry.
I mean, no, there's some very glaring issues, and it's mostly all with the vehicles. Is I can't not see the fact that it's not the same truck, because they jump between 2 different generations of the same of the GMC trucks. So one of them, because the main one, when it starts out is probably 76, 77 square body single headlight.
Yeah.
But then when they get in, because the show's shot in 80, 81 and goes on, and every once in a while I will see, and because 81 to 87 is a completely different body style than 73 to 80. And every once in a while I will see, wait, that truck's got 2 headlights on each side. It's got 4 that's a no. And then I started noticing right off the bat inconsistencies. Like sometimes I'll be driving and the truck will have a headliner with the rear pillars upholstered, and sometimes not. It's like, okay, these are 2 different trucks. There's one episode where he slides open the bedside. So the side of the bed, he slides it open, and he's got a whole bunch of guns in there. But then I'm watching it, that same shot from different shots of the same side. The body lines aren't there for that slide out thing. And it's like, oh, this is painful. And yes, I am more noticeable about vehicles than most people.
Right.
But the thing that really broke my brain was the episode I watched today before we did this. There was a car chase. They're both sedans. But every time they did the inside the car shot of the people that were chasing them, it was clearly a coupe.
Oh.
There was
no back seat, or
no, it had a back seat, but it had the extra long door, and it did not have a rear door. And it's like, oh, that's not even the same car.
Oh well, yeah.
The color, yeah, they got the color
Only
right.
you would notice.
It's like, oh, you people. No, I was obsessed with that truck. When I was a kid, I had I guess it would have been a Tonka, but it was a metal brown pickup truck.
Right.
And I called it the Fall Guy truck because I thought it was the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched the Fall Guy. I know what you're talking about. it was like the same time as A-Team
Mhm.
and Airwolf and
Yep. It's like 81 to
you haven't seen any of those
87.
either, Matt?
No, I remember A-Team and Airwolf. I thought Airwolf
I think
was the coolest
Airwolf was
thing
also
ever
a Glenn Larson show.
when I was a kid. But also when the Airwolf, when they did a loop to loop, I was like, how does that work? I always was confused because I would realize that should suck it right into the ground. But I guess there's a way they can work around that. But what's that point?
Yeah.
I was, as a kid, was very confused by that.
Yeah. But the thing that really, and the thing that I think we should actually talk about, the thing that I'm reminded of when I go back and I watch these old shows that I never got to watch before, is the fact people today are getting screwed by episode counts.
Oh.
Because like season 1 of The Fall Guy, it's an hour-long show and it's got 24 episodes.
Right.
Now you get shows that are like a half hour and you still like barely maybe 8 or 10.
Right.
What the hell?
2 years between seasons.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing.
Yeah. No, and people don't understand. They're like, oh, that's too long. No, it's not. when you can watch an episode every week for the entire year with only like a couple weeks off between seasons, no, that's the way it should be.
So here's the way I see it is most of the stuff that's being produced now has, and I shouldn't say most, the stuff that I enjoy that is being produced now has effectively one major story arc that carries over across a season. And so, think Stranger Things or The Witcher, where there's each episode is generally self-contained. There's a beginning, middle, end, climax, and everything in each episode, but it fits into a larger overall story arc that also contains all those elements. And so when you go back and you watch most of these older shows, that was very uncommon for there to be any major contiguous story arches, except in your occasional to be continued episode.
No. So you're talking you're talking about there were episodic shows like Knight Rider, Airwolf, but you did have shows that like Dallas. Dallas ran for 14 years from 1978. And they had anywhere between 24 to 30 episodes a season. And yes, every season was a long story arc.
Yeah, I mean, I should concede that this is something that's always been done in the soap opera
dramas and
genre as well. And yeah, I mean, that's fair. We didn't see it as much with the action type shows that appealed to me. So yeah, like Airwolf, Fall Guy and stuff. There weren't generally overarching storylines across seasons. I kind of think back to like Highlander, which was my favorite show as a kid. And
the Highlander TV show.
Thinking about like, I think it ran like 6 or 7 seasons, and the latter seasons did start to have like contiguous story arcs that ran across the season.
So and you can see the drop off.
X-Files was the same way,
that show is the perfect one to choose because you can see the drop off because season 1 through 4 of Highlander had 22 episodes each.
Yeah.
5 had 18, 6 had 13, and this is 97 and 98. The thing I've always attributed it to before streaming was DVD box sets because it's much easier to package 10 episodes onto 1 or 2 DVDs than it is 20 episodes. Like, because The Sopranos still had lots of episodes, and you would
Well,
buy a
see-
Sopranos box set and it would be on like 6 DVDs.
You're not going back far enough because Highlander, I remember Highlander. I got super excited every season. You'd see this new boxed VHS set.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at.
Fucking pre-DVD.
No, but that's what I'm getting at is once the because in the early 2000s, late 90s, the box sets became more popular and to the point where you could almost guarantee that every show would. Before it was hit or miss. Some shows would, most shows wouldn't. And it happens to coincide with the decline of the episode count, which is why I think they used the popularity of the box sets as a way to decline or to reduce the episode count so you could fit them on more media or less media.
Yeah. I mean, there may be something to that. I think, like I said, I feel like as you went through the seasons of Highlander, you got more and more story arc driven and less enemy of the week. Like I said, X-Files started out monster of the week and then transitioned into a show that had distinct
there was always
season-wide arcs.
There was always a season. There was always that arc in the X-Files. It's just they didn't focus on that arc every week because they set it up in the first episode. And they just let it sit there and they'd come back to it every once in a while.
They dribbled things in the first and second and maybe even third season. But after a while, it started becoming a major thing in almost every episode that was what was happening. But yeah, you're right. They technically did have it from the beginning.
And also, I probably shouldn't use Highlander as an example of the decline because in hindsight, it was the final 2 seasons where they reduced it to 18, then 13. That was also when they were getting ready to cancel it. And I think those last ones were just because, we're not getting the viewers, so we'll give you 18.
Well,
and you only get 13 this time. Wrap it up.
You know that it must have been one of the best shows ever because I believe it's the only show that had a Queen song for its opening, for its theme music.
What about didn't they use the Flash song on the Sci-Fi Flash TV show?
Did they?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
You could be right.
Or Flash Gordon, I meant, not
Flash Gordon,
the Flash,
the
Flash Gordon.
It could be. I don't know, perhaps, but it's the best theme song for a show that has ever been. I will die on this hill.
I'll let you stand there.
The Queen's song "You're My Best Friend" was used. Well, I think it was used as a theme song, but I'll find out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
best theme song ever, Highlander. Even if you go back and watch the shows and realize that they were really, really cheesy.
Yes.
Yep.
That said, it still was an amazing.
Oh, there were many shows in that vein that were extremely cheesy. What was the vampire one?
Buffy?
Oh, Midnight.
Not Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
No, not. It was a different one.
It was Midnight something.
No. Oh, you mean the one that's like the vampire and he's like a doc or like a detective or whatever?
Yes.
Night. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was Night something. Night Stalker?
Oh, Night.
No.
Vampire Night. Like was a K.
Right? Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah, probably.
Forever Night.
Forever
Night. That's it.
Yes. Okay.
That's funny because I never watched it. I thought Forever Night was the reboot of Knight Rider.
What's this show? This
But
isn't
I
what
never saw I never saw any trailers or anything. So I didn't know that.
I remember watching this and going, "Hey, this isn't so bad." And I'm sure if I rewatched it now, I'd
Did
be
you
like,
watch Beauty and the Beast?
I do remember watching a little bit of Beauty and the Beast and going, "Oh no, no, not my show." But everybody around me was like, "This is the best show." I was like, "Really? No, not
Who
my
was
show."
the lady?
Yeah,
Was it like
it's,
that was like Lorenzo Lamas or somebody that like who was the hairy guy?
that was Renegade, was Lorenzo Lamas.
Yeah. Whatever
That was
happened to Lorenzo's Llamas?
No, no,
I don't know.
Did they all
they
die?
were drama llamas. They went away.
Oh no.
I I yeah, I mean it's interesting you go back and you watch these shows that seemed so good at the time. Um it just really shows
Oh,
you
it was
how
Ron
much-
Perlman. That's right.
Right.
Ron Perlman was the Beast.
and they didn't even have to use makeup.
No. And it
Sorry,
was Linda
I should cast
Hamilton.
no
It was-
stones, right?
It
Like,
was Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh wow.
I knew that it was Linda Hamilton. I didn't realize it was Ron Perlman.
I remember that now. I remember that.
So he would have done this coming off of Ice Pirates.
Oh God.
And that's why he
Wow.
wore this. He had to wear this makeup so that people didn't recognize him as one of the Ice Pirates.
It's one of the Ice Pirates. Yeah, I mean, it really does show you like the evolution that TV has gone through. There was a period where, you know, they did good shows and they were well produced, but they were really basic in like being kind of like everyday life. And
But that's
so it
good.
was easier to do. But in the 80s, that was when we saw a real surge of like TV shows trying to do what you would see in movies, like sci-fi type stuff. And, you know, I mean, aside from like the first Star Trek and whatever Will Rogers thing was, or Robinson,
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space, yeah. So there weren't a lot of like sci-fi shows that put in a real effort to look realistic. And then in the 80s, like later 80s, early 90s, you saw a lot of shows trying to bring in really fantastical elements and do that. And now we go back and look at it and it's incredibly cheesy.
Right.
But you think about like the budgets that they were operating with and the technology available in general. It has no option but to look cheesy to us now.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't know.
All industries have their awkward phase, and that's when that one had its awkward phase.
Yeah.
That's for certain.
Writing also was really new. People hadn't been writing stories for very long at that point. So that's why they were so cheesy.
I'm going to insert crickets there.
That one just crashed. Sorry. I was.
I don't think it crashed. I think you did wonderful.
All right. Hey, since we're on the topic, why don't we get into our rant and our rave? I can bring.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have it anymore. I guess I'm gonna do this.
You can stop at the first one then.
Alrighty, so this time, to celebrate the podcast coming back, we also are celebrating Futurama coming back. I was so excited when Futurama came back a couple weeks ago that we did an episode where me and Matt talked about it because he had never seen Futurama.
Not really.
So I figured it was the perfect entry point for him to get into Futurama and tell me what he thinks because they're coming back fresh, rebooted. and technical difficulties, that was all for naught.
Yeah.
Come to find out we're doing this. And also, Mike, you never watched Futurama.
Yeah, this is true.
Of
I have.
all the two people, if I had to pick two people in the world that I would expect to have never seen Futurama, I never would have picked you two. I
Don't know what to tell
yeah,
you.
but
Fair.
so
I know a lot of people that have watched Futurama and have recommended it to me, and yet for some weird reason I've never done it until now.
So, before we get into the episodes that we were going to talk about, little backstory. I watched Futurama. I saw the first episode of Futurama when it aired, but I was at a bar. It was playing on the TV. I didn't get it. I didn't find it interesting. So I ignored it. Fast forward a couple years later, it got canceled. Got picked up by Adult Swim. They started airing the first season or two every night. And I started watching it and realized, holy crap, this show is hilarious. And I think what happened was in that 2 year to 2 year span, I was a kind of not in the same headspace. There was a thing going on, involving buildings and stuff, me having to go on a year-long vacation, dangerous in between. But then I watched it religiously. I watched it religiously on Adult Swim, and due to the intense popularity and the ratings they were getting on Adult Swim, they brought the show back. Fox started making new episodes, and they did for a few years, and then they canceled it again. And then, so it went to Adult Swim, and they started doing new episodes for a couple years, and then they canceled it. And then it was gone for a couple years. And then it came back alive again on Comedy Central. This would have been around 2014, 2015-ish. And it got a couple seasons. And then they canceled it again. There and in between the cancellations, there were a couple movies that were really good that are part of the canon, and the new seasons always pick up. And so that being said, the show's been canceled and revived like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that a new studio opens up, produces the show for 2 years, realizes why it got canceled last time, and cancels it.
No,
dude comes along and is like, oh, that show is great. And then about 2 years later, he realizes why it got canceled and cancels it again.
No, with the exception of Comedy Central, it's always been the same studio, because Fox, which is part of Hulu. So it was Fox, and Cartoon Network is part of that same company. So, because they'd throw stuff over there, just whatever, because we can put it on our other channel and do reruns, and we don't have to do any agreements. So it was always Fox, with the exception of Comedy Central, which is Viacom. So, and then now that it's back, it's Fox again, because Hulu, because Disney owns all of the Fox TV stuff. And Hulu. So now it's officially a Hulu show. So that being said, I had you guys watch episode 1
Mm-hmm.
2 is optional, and then last week's episode 5.
Correct.
And 5 specifically for which I assume are now very obvious. So let's get into first impressions after watching episode 1. What do you guys think?
I'll start. I felt that I was immediately thrown into a universe that, due to the meme of it and all that, I was familiar with, yet unfamiliar with. And its intro, which basically said that there were things that were supposed to happen or did happen, and they decided to reset it because that is what they did. Because then they started to basically say, this is all about it being reset. And this is really, that's the joke. It's like things can't really help but be reset. And the second half of the episode about having to binge watch, which would
Binging is bad.
binging is bad. Don't do it. And yeah.
Yeah, so first impressions for me were okay, yes, I've seen all of the memes and stuff. I didn't ever always quite understand them because of the lack of knowledge of the characters. And I felt the same thing was happening for episode 1. I didn't understand the characters, and I felt like that knowledge was necessary to appreciate it, because I absolutely didn't
So,
at all.
episode 1, I appreciated because for those of us that were deep into Futurama, that know the backstory, know the jokes, there were plenty of things that were just throwaway. There was a lot of fan service,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't integral to the story. It's stuff that you might have noticed, hey, I don't understand that, but it didn't matter. Or stuff that you didn't even notice that once you get through, and if you did another search and then you come back, you would find absolutely hilarious. Just because, oh, I didn't notice, or she said, or he said, or they said this thing, and now okay, that's funny because it's a reference. I think they handled the. I'm split on how they handled the reset, because when they ended things, they ended it on a specific note, which was both frustrating and satisfying at the same time. Because basically you had 10, 15 years of Fry doing a thing just gets wiped away by, the professor resets everything and basically makes all that pointless. So there's futility. Yep. But really what this episode was this episode was a primer for anybody coming in, both new and old, that do not expect to be able to binge this, because binging is bad. You will not get this all at once. Number 2, it's okay that it was canceled, because things need to be canceled from time to time, which was also telling everybody this show isn't going to be around for very long. They might be like 2 seasons, but it's going to get canceled, and don't be mad because we warned you. Good things have to be canceled. But they also didn't waste a lot of time going, hey, remember? Oh, for your new, just, hey, this thing that happened, now we got to explain it to you. They didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
No.
It was a ridiculous episode. It was not a great episode of Futurama, but it was a great episode for us who have had this Futurama size hole in our soul for the last 10 years or so. It was exciting to be able to watch. Now,
Okay.
we got to episode 2. Episode 2, I know, Matt, you kind of appreciated.
I really enjoyed episode 2. We don't have to talk very much about it, but it felt like a good sci-fi show to me. And
So for me, episode 2 actually had stuff that was not just meh.
Mhm.
Like, it was overall, I didn't particularly enjoy the episode. The first episode, I didn't enjoy at all. I just felt like everything fell flat. There was like 2 things that I thought were clever or enjoyable in it. Um, and that's about it. The second episode, I did start to see some interesting things happening. There were some humorous bits and things, so I didn't dislike the second episode, where I like actually completely disliked the first episode. And if you hadn't, said, "Hey, watch 1, 2, 5," I would have probably stopped after 1 and just thought, "This show sucks. I'm never going to enjoy it." But yeah, so the second episode, it warmed me up to it enough that I was like, okay, I don't feel like I'm gonna hate myself for watching one more episode.
So, episode 2 is actually a previously on episode. So, when this is tying up a storyline from 20 years ago, which is why they specify that, like, when they show you when they have their flashbacks, and those are actually scenes from the episode 20 years ago. So when she says, "I'm not ready to be a mom," you say, "It's okay. It'll be 20 years before they're ready," right?
Mhm.
And this, while I don't particularly love this episode, it illustrates what I do love about Futurama is they set stuff up. And they will, when they set it up, they had no expectation that they would be around in 20 years.
Right.
20 years later to be able to pick it up. But everything they set up, they will pay it off eventually.
Okay.
And, at the time, that 20 years, that was their cop out. That was how they get around having to continue that storyline.
Right.
And then 20 years later, they went, "Hey, you know what? We said this thing. Let's go with it." And so this episode also kind of shows that the show has a heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all slapstick. Not every episode is serious. Not every episode is dumb.
Right.
And usually a lot of the episodes will be some sort of commentary on things that are currently happening. Like there's an episode, I think it's episode 3, where they do it's about Bitcoin mining, and the way they approach it is wonderful. The 5th episode that I wanted you guys to watch is specifically what is it a parody of, both of you?
Mama's on.
Mama's on.
Okay,
Is
that
So,
Amazon.
possibly be?
If
I
you're
don't
not
know.
familiar, and it's not really that important, but Mom is the manufacturer of all the robots, going back to the very beginning of the season or series. It's Mom's Friendly Robots. There's a lot of history between Mom and the professor and all of our cast. We have spent a lot of time with Mom.
Okay.
But none of that is important because Mama's on. And I watched this episode, and I knew you both needed to watch this, partly because Mike, your love of Amazon, and Matt, your hatred of Amazon.
Correct.
And the thing that they do brilliantly here is I'm pretty sure they they catered to both of you.
Mm.
Both. This is like, no matter whether you love Amazon or you hate Amazon, you watch this and go, this is good.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. Like it is parodying the way my life is with Prime, right? Like ordering stuff and having it show up quickly, and spending, buying way more things than you intend to, and not even knowing what you're expecting when packages show up at your door. um, I definitely recognize that aspect of it and appreciate it as a critical parody of my life, and realize that, yeah, they nailed me right there. I totally get that.
What?
They walk into the room and there's like 8 beds in the one room. There's only 3 people that live there. And it's like, I'm like, I haven't bought multiple extra beds, but I have bought a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense.
They parodied your life, and they also addressed Matt's biggest fear, the unending expansion.
Correct.
Yeah. The part where the one executive says, we put 364,000 companies out of business last week, or something like that. Yeah. And to be clear, I totally appreciate it in both respects. And I'll be totally honest, since we've been airing less since then, that last, like, what, 3-4 months, I've started to shy away from my preference for Amazon.
Wow.
Now the pretty standard base, the machines and the company that's taking over the world kind of thing. It's a familiar trope, but this was a nice way of doing it. I enjoyed the parody exactly, making it Mamazon makes a lot of sense. I loved it how it was like everything was, oh man, that's so interesting, but I get it cheaper on Amazon. Oh, I said I can get that tomorrow on Amazon. And it's like I hate that. It's right in front of you, but no, I can get it. Like,
the thing I loved was there was that sense of impending doom as it expands and it expands until they realize, wait, the entire universe is inside?
Exactly.
So it makes no difference?
Oh no, we're stuck inside of this universe. Yeah. We'll never get out.
So his statement was something along the lines of, everything sucks exactly the way it did before.
Yeah,
exactly.
And, that was, so this was the episode where I felt like at the end of the episode, I was like, okay, there's some cleverness going on here. I can appreciate that this is an entertaining show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they pointed out a lot of interesting things, and yeah, I agree. There's nothing to worry about Amazon. It's just going to consume our lives to the point that we don't even realize that our lives are consumed in. Then it will be okay.
So I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Matt before, is would you be willing to start at the beginning with us and start watching Futurama from the beginning?
One episode at a time, talk about it, kind of thing.
I will preface, hold on, I'll preface, if people actually want it. So you that you're watching this or listening to this, you need to let us know in the description or whatever. Would you be interested in a watch through of Futurama? Because they've never seen it. I'm willing to rewatch it, which is huge. If you know me, I don't like rewatching anything, but I'm willing to rewatch with them. Like Matt, you said you were potentially willing, right?
We're absolutely willing, especially since it's short, sweet, and just fun, entertaining. It looks like it's just a
Commitment
little
is
thing.
1 30-minute episode a week. That I can do.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know how long I can do it.
Well, and
Okay.
that's the thing
Do
is
it
we'll take
for-
it week by week. See,
exactly.
we've rebooted the podcast, the long form podcast, so we have a spot where we can put in there Futurama, and then we know next week watch Futurama episode 1 or whatever. We could discuss that, but we'll table that for a few weeks. So we'll let the people speak. So at this point, with the 3 episodes that you have watched, are you starting to understand what people love about the show? Not necessarily do you love the show, but are you starting to kind of get an idea of why? Okay.
Yeah, I think, like I was saying, I think episode 5 is the one that really told me, like, that showed me that there was something actually to the show. I think episode 1 was kind of, in my opinion, it was a throwaway. It was, you know, I know what it was doing.
It
but
was a primer. It was
only
basically
for
a primer.
people. Yeah, like it really was for people that knew what was going on. Like it didn't mean anything to a new person.
Well, but
the
it
whole
was
reset phase-
it was giving you instruction for what to expect
sure
as a new person.
Mhm.
right,
Yeah.
but it wasn't meaningful. Like it
No.
gives you some stuff. The second episode, I feel like there wasn't, like, I would have needed more context to understand the value of what was happening. Episode 5, though, I actually found it had a lot to it that made the characters interesting, made what was going on interesting, and I actually didn't hate the time invested. I enjoyed it, though I wouldn't say it would compel me to watch the rest of the season.
Okay.
Or really probably any more. Like now I might be more inclined to say, oh, it's on, I'll watch it with a friend or something if my friend's watching it. Whereas before I would just do something different. So yeah, I mean, a much warmer, but still very lukewarm feeling towards the series.
Okay, so me, the feeling that I have that it's trying to convey is that our problems are going to be the same problems in the future. We're going to have to deal with them forever, and it's in the banality of dealing with it, because we have to deal with it now and deal with the future. It is humorous to view that and to take what you already are dealing with and going, yep, it's gonna be doing the same thing for the. But that being said, the critical eye is good too. I love it.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it.
So I'm curious. So with this experiment,
Okay.
you guys are starting in season 11.
Right.
Which realistically, like I said, that episode 1 was the way it was because you expect that there's a lot of people coming in that, like, say people my children's age, they're not going back, they're not going to watch 11 seasons.
Right.
So create a kind of soft entry to guide people into it. But I'm curious, now that you've started here, what you guys will think going back to the first.
An excellent question. I don't know.
So I'm interested to find that out. Bottom line, I was a little bit worried when they said that Futurama was coming back. I was silently hopeful, but I had my expectations set very low to avoid breaking my heart. Because I don't know if I could take that if they'd come back and done it wrong. So I'm happy it's back, and it's the show I remember, I know and love. It's the smartest, funny show on TV. You have to watch the other episodes.
Maybe
There's a
someday
bunch of
Matt
science
and
jokes in
I-
there that are even above my head.
Okay.
Maybe someday Matt and I will agree.
Yes.
We shall see.
Yeah. Yeah, it once you get through that first couple episodes of the first season, then it really takes off. But yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's what we think about that. Let us know what you think in the chat. Should they watch? Should we check in with watch through from the beginning?
Yeah, we got 3 very different perspectives. So let us know which one of us is right. Hint, it's me.
Since when? Only when I'm not around.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, what else do we need to? Oh, we need to decide what are we doing next week.
Excellent question.
We should talk about this is the thing that where we always have fun. You mentioned that have you both watched Dungeons and Dragons?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yes, I have seen.
Did you watch it, Mike?
I have seen it. It's I
Okay.
watch it again so that
I
can review
just
it.
watched it. I just finally watched it a couple days ago.
Okay.
Should we just talk about that next week?
Sure. Let's pick that
for
up.
rants and rapes.
Let's do that.
Cool. We'll do that. I'll pencil it in. So then next week discussion. And then going forward, should we just figure this stuff out on the fly or
So I am enjoying the little more less structured way of doing this personally. I think it flows easier and it sounds better. I like this better personally. So yes, I think we should have some talking points, but otherwise just let it flow.
Yeah, no, and like so I put on here that we should talk about the podcast, what do we want out of it, goals, also we can discuss some of the YouTube stuff from the recent performance. The main thing I want is just to be able to this long form, and everybody listening, you're getting the inside secret sauce, the stuff that we don't normally record.
Oh man.
I want to be able to continue to do the like rants and raves or review stuff that has been successful. So the last video that we put out, it hasn't even been a week and it's already got more than 200 views, which
Excellent.
is huge, especially since we hadn't posted anything in like 6 months.
Yeah.
Although the highest one of the highest best performing videos is the short of the handy
Of course.
from CES.
Well, it was very funny.
Like 8,000 views.
It was very funny.
It was. And I mean the reviews
Clyde at his best for sure.
out of context that sounds really bad because it sounds like I'm somehow involved in the handy.
That's
You're
why
just
I
in the
said
video.
it.
No, because I will say that as the show reviews go, like Emily has done pretty well by comparison. But the review stuff of like the product reviews, that's the stuff that's really getting like the Sesh A&C. We're still getting comments on that a year later. That's like I think over 1,000 views or whatever. But so I would like to do more. But the point is, we can do that during the podcast.
Yep.
And then we can go ahead and we can clip it out to post separately for the people that are never gonna watch the podcast.
Makes a lot of sense.
The issue is getting it in a way that's consistent with the format that people watching those expect. So, just because we've set up kind of a format for how the video flows.
Yeah, no, I think so. My thoughts on that are we do the screen thing at the beginning, and we give it a second, and that's how we start each section, so then it can easily be clipped.
Well, I'm not even going to worry. I'm not going to worry about that.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But for me, I feel like what we have done that has worked well, I think, is less about the way we've structured a video internally, as opposed to the fact that we are doing like a 3-person perspective on a product, or a 3-person perspective, or 4-person perspective, depending on whether Jimmy's here or I'm here, of a show. And I think that's what people are seeing that is interesting and valuable. I do think with products, it's more important that we have like sort of like highlights throughout of like what we're going to, like, key points to hit. I think our conversation about Futurama is a much better model for the show reviews, because I think that we all agree that the kind of rigid structure that we had before didn't feel as good or as natural, and it forced us to go through kind of a lot of repetition with people saying, oh yeah, I agreed, and also forced us to say things about an element that were kind of irrelevant. Like, production quality sometimes is worth calling out.
And the thing is, you don't
most
have
of the time it's just, oh, good production, right?
Well, and the thing is, you don't have to comment on that.
Right.
And those weren't so that was just a place to put your thoughts in different formats, or on different aspects, because with TV or movies, there are common things, just like with a product. There are common things, talking points that you may want to touch on. If you don't have a thought on a particular thing, you can just, for that, if we're talking about that document, you just put in there NA, and then we won't wait around for you to talk about it. And it was just more, I had that just more of a way to kind of arrange thoughts and make sure that it didn't have to be like a paragraph, just I don't want to forget to say that, because in the moment you're like, oh crap, there was that thing.
I still think in most cases it still helps us to use that document. I'm just saying that, like, I liked the way we did Futurama today a lot better, and we didn't hit all of those points, not even close. But we talked about what mattered about the show from our perspective, and I think we covered it well. I do think it would be fun to do some product stuff. We haven't done any recently.
Well, we still have a couple I need to post, so we're okay there. But the products are getting more eyeballs, as expected.
Is there a product we should be looking at in the future?
I don't know, and that was another thing I was going to ask is because we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of our Sesh ANC. It wouldn't be a bad thing to do a like a check-in for people that are still using it. And I know I'm the only one still using it. Yours is dead, and Mike never wanted to use it in the first place. So
Yeah, well, I used it. I didn't, but my daughter used it on our trip
oh,
because I threw it in my backpack on the off chance that somebody needed it
oh,
and she
nice.
forgot her earbuds. And
They worked okay
so
for her.
I was like, well, here's an extra pair of earbuds. They're even charged for you. Just sync them to your phone.
Okay.
And so they came in very handy and she didn't have any complaints. Now, she doesn't have a higher end pair like I do. And I think, that's the thing.
I will
Well,
say I use mine all the time now
yeah.
because I use them when I'm running my snowblower, when I'm
Mm,
driving my lawnmower yard tractor,
mm,
partly because it's something that I'm doing for hours at a
Yeah.
time, and so I want music.
right.
Yep.
And I so and they've been working fine for me. I'm still not a big fan of the form factor. Because I have to do a little kind of I had to find a way to get them to wedge because they fall out of my ears
Mm,
eventually. But
Yeah.
that and it's not really the headphone, it's every headphone in that form factor I don't like. It's why I didn't never got the Google version when they
mm.
were the big stupid circles.
Right.
Um but
See, so for me, I feel like when I'm on a plane or something, I need to have really good
mhm.
uh, active noise canceling because they tend to be noisy and it makes it hard to hear like the movie or the music that you might be listening to otherwise.
I
Um,
just put them in and
so
I'm not even listening to anything. So if anybody talks to me, I just point at my ears and they go away.
yeah, I mean, uh, that said, like, I've used them on airplanes and they work, just not quite as good as like
Mhm.
the Jabras that I have. Um, and in the end,
Yeah.
that's what matters to me is like because that's where I use it. Like
Mhm.
95% of the time, I only listen to earbuds at the
So
airport
okay.
when I'm traveling. Otherwise,
So
I just have it on the TV or on my Echo.
all right. So you've got an opinion. So we can definitely we'll pencil in to do a revisit 1 year later, whatever. Um, so that's something that we can talk about at some point. Um, I don't know if there's anything else. Was there anything that we haven't talked about that you guys want to get into before
Uh,
we go?
School's starting and life is
Oh,
crazy, and I'm about to travel, and uh,
mm,
yeah,
Where are you going?
I'm going to a wedding.
where?
It's on the East Coast.
You.
All right.
I will be sending you thoughts and prayers. I am so sorry.
I should be okay.
I am
Uh,
so sorry that you have to do that.
Where on the East Coast?
I'm going to New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay.
Mm.
It's gonna be 70s, 80s. It'll be okay.
Oh, that's
It'll
not.
be beautiful. Like, yeah, this is the time of year to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe another month until you get like full into fall, but
Right. Yeah.
it'll be beautiful and very nice.
I'm
So
sure.
I envy you, especially since it's still like 100 billion degrees here in
Oh,
Texas.
but actually, politically, he'll be a whole lot more comfortable than you or I would be going to New Hampshire. So you'll fit right in. You'll be fine.
I'm sure I'll be fine.
Um,
um, yeah, I like those northern New England states. They're nice.
This will be my first time there, so it'll be great.
I like
I'm sure it'll be wonderful.
some of them. The yeah, but
So that's tonight. The reason why I was kind of late to the show is because I was packing,
mm.
and
Oh, you leaving tomorrow?
yes,
Oh, that's right. I forgot about it. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The first
It's,
week of school too, right? Like this is
Next week.
the first week is next week. I fly back and get next day's first day of school.
Jeez. Yeah,
Oh,
this
geez,
must
you
have
have
been a rough week for you then, probably trying to get prepped for start of school
yes,
and knowing you're going to be out for a couple of days.
yes, absolutely. It was not exactly the smoothest reentry as I would have liked. So, but it's gonna be fine.
That's rough. Glad you're gonna go have some fun, hopefully. Hopefully it'll be an enjoyable time.
I hope I have a wonderful time. I hope we come back safe and happy and healthy and rested and be able to get back to work and make it through that first week and then have a weekend. I've already discussed with the missus and said when we come back and we get to the weekend, we're doing nothing. And she goes, I agree. It's like
Did you
cool.
do it? But did you say it in the voice of Sergeant Schultz?
I did not.
Oh, you missed
Nothing.
opportunity. Nothing.
We do nothing.
Yeah. Um, I yeah, I've got so much stuff coming up in the next. I realized I'm basically working every weekend in September. Partly because two of those Saturdays I have all day class stuff, but like I've got a major project next, not in 2 weeks on the 15th. I'm not happy. I've got so much stuff. I'm entering into the worst point, and my days are getting shorter. It's been wonderful up here. This summer has been like 70 degrees every day. Most of the time I've been wearing a hoodie because it's been in like the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
and people are complaining. Down in the cities it's 100 degrees. And I'm like, I'm so glad I'm up here. I am so glad. Um but we're starting in a couple days. It could snow any day. I love the autumn. Autumn, fall has always been my favorite time of year. I like the gray skies and the cooler weather. It's not cold, but it's not hot. You just kind of in there. I've always loved that. But there's starting in September, there's this impending doom that it could snow any day without warning. I mean, yes, we traditionally won't get significant amount of snow until November, but it
Anytime
does
now.
happen. It happens.
Well, I will tell you, the whole next week, still no days under 100. Every single day over 100.
I would take your over 100 with low humidity. In the cities, it's been 100 degrees at 80+% humidity.
Where do you think I live?
There
is humidity here.
It's not as bad.
It's usually in the 50-ish
Okay.
range, but it definitely sits.
That's why I said low. That's why I said lower humidity. Because up here it's like 80s. It's like Virginia humidity in Minnesota. And because I remember when I was stationed in Virginia, and it would be sitting there at 90% humidity or 99% humidity. You're just at 1 more percent and it will rain, but it won't because it's just stuck there and it's so thick and gross. That's what you get here. I'll take 50% humidity at 100. It's like I like Phoenix. I like Phoenix in the summer. And that's like it'll be around 30.
Yeah, Phoenix is actually legitimately like that. I would take that comparison for Phoenix.
Yep. Or even Vegas. Vegas in August, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, we go to Phoenix every summer to visit my family, and it is absurdly hot.
Mm-hmm.
It legit feels like when you get out of your car on a blacktop, it legit feels like sticking your face in the oven,
but
in
you're
the
not
heated oven.
sweating.
But you don't sweat.
And that's the key.
And if you did sweat, it would cool you off.
Yes. See,
where when it's high humidity, you will sweat instantly and it won't cool you at all.
in Minnesota, or especially in the Twin Cities, during the summer when it's 80 degrees and 80% humidity, I can't function. It's worse than Phoenix in August at 120 because it's wet and it's sticky and I have no energy and I can't move. So that's why I'm so glad I'm up here, because yes, it's been in the 40s at night and I keep waking up in the middle of the night freezing, and I have to go around the house and close windows because I forgot, because you never know. But I will take that over that stupid swamp ass heat down there.
Yeah, that's fair. Humidity does make a big difference. It's moderate humidity here in Austin. It's enough that it does make it pretty miserable at 100. Usually you get,
it's like LA
degrees worse feel. It's more humid than LA.
I was going to say,
it's not humid like Houston. Houston is comparable to what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And so Houston or Orlando, those are miserable to go to in the summer.
See, what I was getting at was the difference between LA and San Diego. Because San Diego, when it's like 100, it's pretty nice. Yeah. LA, when it's 100, you kind of want to die.
Yeah,
because LA, you've
LA
got that stagnant.
A lot.
Oh, it
but
does.
When they do, it sucks.
Or like my childhood, like up through the 90s, it was 100 all the time. It goes through cycles.
It depends. And it also depends on the part of the city too, right?
Yeah, like, and when I talk about LA, I'm talking about the county. So I don't care about Los Angeles proper. Right. Downtown and all the different direction LAs, screw them. I don't care. You go out into the valley. So and the problem is in San Gabriel Valley, you're right between two mountain ranges. So the cool air comes up over the top and down the other, and it just pushes, and that air and that humidity, it just sits. And then the only winds you get are this what they call the Santa Anas. They come from the desert and go along east to west through the valley. So you're just getting hot air, and it's miserable. LA is like the armpit of I don't get why anybody lives there. Now you get out of there, you go to the south, like San Diego. You've always got that ocean breeze until you get over into El Cajon, which is down in a valley. It's just like LA, and
again, it all depends on what you look at when you say LA. There are parts of LA that have that coastal wind that are comfortable. And they're also unbelievably unaffordable.
I'm talking about
afford to live, like normal people can't live there because your 1-bedroom apartment or your 1-bedroom condo costs $1 million. And
I'm specifically talking about San Gabriel Valley, East County.
Yeah.
Heading out towards even parts of like Riverside and San Bernardino.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm just saying you gotta specify that because LA does have good areas. If you have millions and millions of dollars to spend on your house.
Money to burn.
Literally. Yeah, because by building your house there, you would put yourself in the middle of a wildfire
pretty section.
So money to burn, literally.
And on that note, I was going to say that the years that you don't have forest fires, like right now, they're getting flooded.
Right.
Yep. And on that note, why don't we wrap this up? Thanks everybody for hanging out with us for the past hour and a half. Yeah, this was shorter than I thought it was gonna be. I thought we were gonna hit 2 hours, but yeah. If you got feedback, you're glad we're back. You're angry we're back. You didn't know we were gone. Yeah, let us know. If you're a patron, drop us a line. You've got a couple ways to work directly with us. Otherwise, this video is on YouTube. The audio version is going to be going out on the same RSS feed. So I assume that most of you that are listening to this right now got you never deleted your RSS.
Right.
And you get an alert that, hey, there's a new episode. Like, WTF. And if that's the case, thank you. If you're in the future sometime and you're backtracking and you found us and you're coming back to this episode, thank you as well.
Absolutely.
But here's to it's been 6-7 years. Here's
something like that.
Yeah. They say you find it takes 10 years to make it, so we're getting close. We're getting close. We're getting this figured out, I hope. All right. I guess. See you later.
I guess.
Bye.
Bye.